in the back corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bash University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break. Watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show. Get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
Just Bash you go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And dude, it was just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bash University Live Tuesday night. Great to have you guys with us. We are having a great show tonight. We're going to have a great show tonight because we're tackling one of the topics that gets the most questions at all of our Bash University events. It's electronics. We're taking an all-encompassing dive into electronics with Miles Burghoff. He's an MLF pro coming, straight off a top 10 on Lake Okeechobee this year. So he's hot, but he's been with us before, and he runs 3 brands of electronics on his boat. And he's been doing this for quite a few years. I'm really excited to have him back on the show because things are very fluid in the electronics world. They're ever changing, very dynamic. And we're going to be talking to Miles about how he rigs his boat. And Jason, because I think it's Cassell of Bass Boat Electronics is going to be with us. I apologize, Jason, but we're going to be talking with him. He's expert at installation. So many pros go to him to get their boats rigged to compete out on tour. And so we're going to be talking about, everything, where to put your transducers, common mistakes that are made in rigging, how to fix interference problems. All these are fair game on today's show. We're going to be talking about forward-facing sonar. We're going to be talking about Mega 360, Mega side imaging, mapping, the whole bit. So if you've got questions, if you've got questions, bring it. This is the deal. This is the night for you. Everybody's asking for it, and we're super excited to have these guys on the show tonight. So stay tuned for that. And we've got ourselves, our typical cast of characters. BTC, I see you getting us off pretty close to on time tonight, man. How you doing?
Good. I'm just looking for the correct shot. I didn't really like that. Well, all right. We'll go with that for now. Looks a little sloppy, but we're good, man. Dude, been excited for this one for probably a month and a half now. I know, like you said, there's a lot of questions about electronics, and Miles has brought it before. Our top viewed seminar from the Classic of 2019, I believe.
I believe that's right.
Yeah. He absolutely brings it. He's very professional. The notes that we've got leading up to this, and most guys just show up empty-handed. Miles is going to bring it. He's got his guy, Jason Cassell. Yeah.
I did it too.
Jason. And it's good stuff, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's so important. Everything's changing so fast. And Riz, you have some new electronics on your boat. I'm sure you've got some questions for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. I'm running the Humminbirds. Super happy with the way my Humminbird 360 is performing with the C-Clear power harness. Everything is crisp, it's clean, it's fast. And guys, if you haven't checked out C-Clear power, I'm telling you right now, the performance you're going to get out of your electronics is night and day. I mean, my graphs are now instantly responding. There's no lag time. When I drop that trolling motor in the water, I have a beam on the bottom. When I switch over to side imaging, I have a good, clean image right away. Use the code BASHU and you can save 15% off of your C-Clear power harness. And also, guys, right now we have a couple of deals going on at the Bash University. If you've been wanting to try out the Bash University program, now is the time. During our 50/50 program, you can save $50 off an annual membership to Bash University TV. That's over 800 videos in full length that you have access to, all with one goal in mind: to help you catch more big bass. And also, if you just want to try it out, use the code. If you just want to try it out, Get signed up and get 50 days for free right now during the annual 50/50 deal. So, guys, it's a great time to join the Bash University program. As always, during tonight's show, we have some things going
Yeah,
on.
I'm going to take it over from here because you got double audio for some reason. That's why everybody was dinging the phone. Why do you have double audio? Hold on, Rich. So where'd you leave off?
He was talking about our Bash University 50/50.
Go ahead, Pete. I got to throw it right at you.
That we got going on right now, and of course, welcome everybody. We are getting such a big response all around, and I appreciate everybody joining the program and let us know what you think. And check out the forum, talk to us over there as well. But we have, I'm trying to figure out where Riz left off, but let me tell you what we do have. I want to thank Gill's Gear for being the official gear of Bash University. We love them. See Clear Power. I'm running it too, guys. It's amazing. I have 4 Solix units operating off of the dedicated See Clear Power harness, and it's an amazing, effective piece of equipment that's going to help you run with no trouble out on the water like it does for me. Tackle Warehouse. We love the boys at Tackle Warehouse and appreciate them. We're going to be giving away 2 $25 Gill's Gear gift cards. And we're also going to be giving away some cool stuff from Z-Man. Miles is bringing a couple cool Z-Man gift packs. And we are going to be giving those away. We have a contest, as we always do, over on Facebook. If you're watching over there, like and share the feed. And we're going to enter you guys into a great contest to win a tremendous prize, including a bunch of our sponsor stuff. So make sure you like and share the feed. Anybody's question that we use on the air, we're going to be hooking you guys up with some really cool stuff. So all of our Bash U subscribers, get your questions in. Man, this is the time. You got questions about your sonar interpretation, rigging, problems, interference, whatever it is. We got the guys on the show tonight going to be able to answer your question. So make sure you light up the instant message board. Riz will put you through, and we will get your questions answered, and we'll let all of you guys talk, as many as we can, to our guests tonight. So we also are going to be we have a trivia question tonight, BTC. You got one in the works?
Oh yeah, we will certainly have one. We do have one. I'm sorry, I was just talking to Rich, and yeah, I think we've found out what the problem is. We've got a small game in the system. Go ahead, Richard.
Apparently, I need a C-Clear microphone harness to alleviate the audio issues we were having there. I was in a cave there for just a few minutes. I had an echo, but I think now I'm back. But yeah, Pete, I am really looking forward to this show. I am fascinated by electronics and how they perform, and really, really looking forward to talking to Miles. And it should be another outstanding show.
I am as well. And Alex is with us tonight, our intern. Always good to have you on the show, Alex. I really like you being there. You always give some great feedback to our show. So it's good to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy being here, and I'm ready to learn. Electronics really fascinate me. It's something that I think is obviously it's evolving rapidly, and Miles has been on the forefront of it and continues to be on the forefront of it. So I'm excited to hear from him, and he seems like he's got a good plan for us tonight. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
I think so. He brought his right-hand man in the electronics world tonight. So that's going to be cool. And I'd like to welcome Empire Covers to the Bash University. I know we kind of mentioned them on the last show, but boating season is here, guys. Months of facing the elements can leave your boat looking worse at the end of the season. We all know that. That's why EmpireCovers.com is here to protect your vehicles against Mother Nature. Whether you need a cover for trailering your boat, or mooring your boat, a bimini top for some shade on the water. I know some guys have all different styles of boats that watch our show, not just bass boats. EmpireCovers.com offers high quality, affordable cover options that are engineered to protect. They offer covers for everything. Cars, trucks, RVs, jet skis, everything that's outdoors, they have a cover for it. And every cover comes with a multi-year warranty to guarantee that it remains durable over time. With over 100,000 customer reviews, you can trust Empire delivers quality products and customer service. Here's the deal. Listeners receive free shipping plus an extra 15% off their entire order. So if you're in need of a cover for your car, jet ski, bass boat, RV, you name it, visit empirecovers.com/Ike. Use the promo code BASHU21, and you're going to get 15% off and free shipping from empirecovers.com.
That's
a
significant
check it out.
Discount, Pete.
That's huge. And we all got to have them, right? We all got to take care of our gear, and these covers are the best. So go ahead and check them out. 15% off, free shipping. Welcome to the Bass University team, Empire Covers. Good to have you with us, and good to have all you guys with us watching tonight. Can't wait to get into it. We're going to take a quick commercial break. But before I do that, I want to give a shout out to Justin Kimmel, professional fish head, and his partner, Matt, who entered the winner's circle yet again in one of his buddy tournament trails. Seemed just top 10 in every time out of the gate. It's pretty awesome to see, JK. So congratulations if you're listening. I know he's on vacation. He can't be here with us tonight, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Them guys got to be a nightmare if you live in that area.
They got to be like, oh man, we're fishing for second place, right?
Seriously, man.
That's awesome.
All he does is
him and Matt are just such a dynamic. They just marry each other so well. Being able to, power, finesse.
Yep.
And Justin's so good at complementing whatever is happening in the boat. Whatever the dominant pattern is, he'll take the secondary pattern, or he'll fish for big fish all day. Yep. If that's what's required.
Right.
Justin's just really good at catching them when it comes down to it.
Yeah. Well, he's shown that. So congrats to him. And this whole cruise is, in and around the winner's circle. So I love the winning culture that we have at Bass U.
Justin is the best Bass University commercial you could ever come up with. He really is. I mean, it just proofs in the pudding, man.
No.
The guy just absorbs all the content and then goes out and puts it to work.
He definitely does. Justin is our program manager. For those of you who don't know, the guys on this show are the guys that make it happen behind the scenes. We are Bass University TV. We create the content. With the exception of filming, but we have editors in the room. We have social media in the room. So the guys that are putting our Bass University program together are the guys that are on this show. And I love that. I love the authentic nature about what we do at Bass U. Everybody here is a fish head and a tournament angler. Every one of us does that too. So it's great to have a team like this, and it's great to see everybody doing so good. So thanks for being with us. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back talking sonar. Get your questions together, guys. It's going to be a great show. I can't wait to see what blows my hair back when they start talking about this topic, because it's something that we're all learning and we're all trying to get a little bit better at. So we're going to take a quick break. Be back with Miles talking sonar right after this.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out doing a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
We're different. Some would say obsessed. There's no place on earth we'd rather be than right here, right now. Performance-driven gear, so you can fish longer, harder. Gill's Performance Fishing.
2021 Red Crest champion Dustin Connell here, and if you watch live coverage, we just got done at Lake Eufaula. I caught my fish using the active target with Lowrance. What you didn't see is I run a C-Clear power harness in my boat. One of the main advantages to running this harness is it does not drain my batteries down at all running my 4 units. And what that's going to allow me to do is I'm able to see my bait at 8 a.m. just as good late in the day. Y'all check them out at cclearpower.com.
You take pride in your boat, so it deserves the best protection possible. Our durable woven fabric prevents ripping and provides UV protection, and our tape seams provide protection against the elements. The heavy-duty shock cord hem and strap and buckle system provide a tight and secure fit. Our top-of-the-line boat covers come with a ventilation system to keep your boat free from mold buildup. Empire Covers, protecting what you love.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
All right, we're back. And all right, there it is. Pete?
All right. Welcome
Smooth as
back.
ever.
I saw some scrambling going on around behind the scenes there, so glad we made it back.
And we got our guests on, Pete.
Excellent.
Just like that, magically.
Awesome. Just like that. So guys, we talked about it. We're talking about electronics tonight, and here they are. We've got Miles Burghoff, who's been with us, and I think I mentioned to him before, Sonar YouTube video he did for us was our most viewed YouTube video that we did that year, where we talked about multiple Sonar units, and it's great to have you with us, Miles, and Jason Cassell, who we're meeting for the first time from Bass Boat Electronics. Man, it's great to have both you guys with us tonight.
Thanks for having us, man. This is pretty cool. When you guys wanted to do this, I knew that if we were going to talk about electronics, I mean, I'm good at like the application of the electronics, but this guy, he's the wizard. So we're pretty stoked to be here.
That's all. You're the wizard, Jason. You're the guy that makes everything work right.
Well, I guess that's his nickname for me. I wouldn't call myself a wizard, but I do my best, and I've been doing it for a while, so I think it comes naturally.
Hey,
awesome.
I got one thing. Can you guys switch seats? I made the banners about a half hour ago. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, we changed shirts.
I'll change it on my end. It's all good.
Oh, that's awesome. Are we at whose shop are we at right now?
Yeah, this is our showroom, bassboatelectronics.com. This is our retail showroom. So, everything on our website's live, so you can walk in and pick it up, and inventory comes out. So it's a pretty cool little system.
And it's Knoxville. Are we actually in Knoxville, or just?
Yeah, we're just outside of Knoxville. We're in between downtown Knoxville and Knoxville McGee Tyson Airport. So we're probably 10 minutes from true downtown Knoxville. We're just on the outskirts.
That's all you guys do is install and sell electronics.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, electronics, wiring, batteries. I mean, everything Bass Boat Electronics.
How long have you guys been in business?
So I actually started the company in 2014, the actual Bass Boat Electronics. I've been doing marine electronics for probably 12 years now. I used to do a lot of larger boats and yachts and stuff and different setups of that nature. And fishing's always been a passion, and everything just kind of lined up for me to target bass boats and bass boats only.
No kidding. I mean, this boom in electronics has got to have you just, firing off crazy right now.
I thought I was really busy. This guy is incredibly busy. I mean, he doesn't have time for any. He bought my last year's boat. So my Nitro Z20 from last year, he bought it, and I don't think it's seen the water yet.
2 days.
2 days.
Thursday's my birthday. We're going on a fishing trip. So
Happy birthday.
I'm gonna get it in.
Happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday. Yeah, good for you. You better get out on the water. It's funny how when you get involved in the business side of fishing, we fish less and less when that happens a lot of times.
Yeah, it takes over, but it's good.
This year, that's my goal. Going to fish more. I hope you do too. And I appreciate you. We all have a ton of questions, and we're going to dive into it. And Miles, we all watched on the top 10 on Lake Okeechobee, man. Started firing off right out of the gate, man. That's got to feel good getting the season started like that.
That was a lot of fun, and it's kind of weird because it's ironic that I literally had the most low tech top 10. I was literally push polling with no electronics on the bow other than my Navionics maps, with just having all the waypoints where I was catching fish on all these little reed heads. But it was such a fun event.
That looked awesome. 26 pounds.
That 26. And the funny thing is, last year at Harris, I got a 6th place too, and had 26 and a half the first day too. So that was kind of cool. Actually, just 26, about even.
Well, 26 pounds is a monster bag and full of
I love
Floridas,
Florida.
man. Early
I love
season. Yeah, it's great stuff. It was great to see us pulling for you, and it's
Oh,
really
thank
cool
you.
that you're on with us. And it was such a eye opener when you did it. When you came to us, we heard that you had 3 different brands, 3 different reasons why you have all these brands on your boat. I'm like, man, we got to talk to them about this.
Right.
And back then, it was like you were unique. Now it seems like everybody's following your lead.
Yeah, everybody. I'm not sure if I was the first one. I was definitely the first of a handful. I've talked to a couple guys that say that they had been running 3 brands before, but I started, when we partnered together, 2019, my rookie year on the pro circuit. That's when we started this 3 brand electronics deal. And we've kind of carried that through. We've perfected it every single year. In fact, we're still kind of, because everything's so new. Electronics is changing so much that we've really had to kind of evolve, with that changing technology and figure out like what works together, what doesn't, what's kind of overkill, and what the sweet spot is.
Right. So
Yeah.
tell me about what you're running now. Like what are you running now and why?
So we've got the 3 brand system. On the bow, we've got a Garmin 1022 that runs just Panoptix live scope. Then we've got a Humminbird Solix Gen 3 12-inch that runs just 360. We've got the Mega 360 on there. And then we've got a Lowrance HGS 12 live, and that runs my Navionics maps and 2D sonar. And then at the console, I've got Humminbird and Lowrance again. Lowrance is kind of the one that I use for all my waypoint management and tracks and stuff like that. And on both the Humminbird and the Lowrance, I use side imaging.
It's got to be when you're up at the front of the boat. How do you decide which unit to look at?
That's kind of the tricky thing about electronics nowadays is kind of like narrowing things down and figuring out like what works for you and in what situations. Really, I don't even know how I look at it all, but it generally tends to start with, the Navionics mapping on the Lowrance when I'm on the front, and kind of pick out the areas that I want to fish. Maybe I've got a waypoint or something like that. And I've also got 2D sonar that I'm, watching to see what the depth is, because that's a really easy way to just get a snapshot of what the depth is and what's just directly below the boat. And then as I'm moving along, the 360 is a tremendous tool. We put that on the boat like mid-season last year, right before Chickamauga. And 360 does a phenomenal job of giving you that big picture, right? Mm-hmm. So you can see everything that's in front of you, beside you, even a little bit behind you, depending on how you've got that screen orientated. And so that one kind of leads me in the direction of like what my next place I need to scan with the forward-looking sonar is. So I'll use the Panoptix to kind of sweep over to an area that looked good on the 360 and see exactly what's going on there.
That's a great setup. I love the 360. I don't know what I did before I got it. I don't know how I caught any fish before I got that system. It's amazing that it, what it can show you. And and we've talked about forward facing sonar over and over again. And that's, man, chasing fish down. When I looked at a couple of the forward facing units and I thought, man, it's going to require a bit of a learning curve. And then I saw one of the guys go down to Smith Lake and top 10. He got his transducer unit like 2 days before practice started, put it on, and immediately got a top 10 running fish down, never having used it before.
It's super easy. Yeah,
it seems like I guess it's got to be a little bit, right? No, there's no
It
learning curve there.
There's definitely a learning curve. I'll tell you where the learning curve is, and I think we've touched up on this is learning what not to pay attention to. like if you get too bogged down on everything that's on that screen, the one thing I noticed when we put forward facing sonar Panoptics on the very first tournament of my pro circuit career, I was at Sam Rayburn and not catching anything. And I finally turned it on and I saw fish everywhere. There's fish just swimming around, just being their fishy selves. And I'm like, why am I not catching any of these fish? And I started chasing all those fish, trying to make them bite. And I lost track of, my gut instincts and paying attention to the conditions and things like that. So what I learned is that there's a lot of static out there that you're going to see on the, not actual static, but there's going to be plenty of fish. There's just so much biomass in all these lakes that you're going to see so much fish. You need to learn which fish you're going to be able to catch with that technology.
How do I determine that? What am I looking for? Somebody that's going to get these units for the first time. How do I tell a catchable fish or even a bass from a shad or carp and that sort of thing?
That's pretty hard to do a blanket statement on that. But in the situations, I'll give you an example. Last year at St. Clair, we made that long run from Sandusky up to St. Clair. And when I was getting there, I was using Panoptics to just scan around and find my next fish. And there's a ton of drum. That there's a ton of drum. And you just learn how to kind of, I didn't get it down 100%. And I'm still learning when it comes to every time I get to a body of water, every fish is going to act a little bit different depending on the water temperature, their mood and things like that. So I have to kind of relearn which ones are bass and which ones are other species kind of in the moment, and those drums were really hard at first to figure out. But after a while, I kind of noticed the way that their tail if their tail got into the picture and the way that they were positioned, if they were nose down, kind of going forward, nose down, and I could see that their nose was down, it was a drum.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it's just that's the thing about the live technology is you got to really kind of play the day. And another example that I think I mentioned at the Classic when we talked was brush piles at Hamilton. So the first and only cup that I've fished. I'm fishing brush piles, which I don't think I've ever fished a brush pile off the bank, offshore in a tournament ever. But because of Panoptics Live Scope, I could, or any forward-facing sonar, I could actually see the brush piles line up with them, but also see the fish's mood. So I would test my baits. I'd cast out say a deep chatterbait, like a 3/4 ounce jackhammer or something like that, and move it up over the brush pile. If they didn't like that retrieve, I'd adjust it. Sometimes they wouldn't even leave the brush pile. Sometimes they'd leave it and the whole school would follow it and never touch it. And then as soon as I got that retrieve right, that's when they would crush it. And so I could hone in on what their activity level is just from watching the live sonar.
Well, you can see it's a tremendous tool. Guys keep winning with it. Jason, this question I think is for you. You mentioned it, Miles, you're running to, through the Great Lakes and you've got, $100,000 worth of sonar up on the front deck of your boat. Not that much, but it's all that stuff's up there. Yeah. What are the installation and how are you protecting that when you're pounding through 4 to 6 foot waves? How are those installed to defend against that?
Yeah, so there's some critical mounting components, but mainly the structure of the boat. There's a lot of small details that go into place for the actual rigidity of the mounts. But the main thing, obviously you got to have the right components. We do a lot of different manufacturer mounts. Bass Boat Technologies is probably our biggest one that we do. And they actually put the triple mount on the front of Miles's boat. But essentially it's got a full metal plate that bonds to the actual boat itself. So it's a completely solid surface. So when he's hitting waves, all that weight is evenly distributed across the bow of that boat. But that's a big deal, especially on his console. The console is actually through bolted with large washers, multiple contact points. So really the surface area of the boat is the key deal. If you got small surface area or weak screws that can pull out, they're going to pull out. We've seen it time and time again.
And part of that whole process is like my job during the tournament, keeping everything tightened up and making sure that there's no play in anything. And actually what we ended up doing, I ended up taking off the 360 for that one as I'm running and would put it back on, because anytime you've got some leverage, more leverage on a component like that, because it was 4 to 6 footers the entire way from Sandusky all the way up to the Detroit River. And so it took me 3 hours and 6 minutes to get to my spot, just through some really rough stuff. So I ended up taking off my Humminbird unit, which last year we had it on like a mount.
Yeah, we had it on a separate mount on the actual deck.
It's like an 8-inch unit.
You gotta kind of remove it.
Yeah, and whenever you have a 8-inch mount like that or larger, that's just too much leverage in that kind of situation. So I just took it off, wrapped it in a blanket or a moving blanket and put it in one of my rod lockers. So that's really important. And also the trolling motor was a really big deal, making sure that wasn't bouncing around. I saw a lot of guys with the new trolling motors putting holes through their boat, the bottom of their boat. I saw probably 6 or 7 of them at the service trailers. And one thing that I did early on, and I've been doing for years, is I put a little anchor point for a cam strap. So I'll just put a cam strap on that anchor point. I'll have that anchor point bolted down, and then I put a cam strap on for the ride. So I don't not only have the Velcro strap that comes with the Tour Pro, but I'm using that cam strap, and that's the deal, man. Is getting something like that. Now I've got the TH Marine locker. Whatever you call it, troll lock, and that's the best solution. But overall, something like that is really important.
Yeah, no question. What you said, a cam lock? What is that, like a bungee cord? What do you?
No, it's like a just a strap. Those ones that it's not a ratchet strap. Like a ratchet strap will put too much pressure on components. You can over tighten it really, really easy, and that's just as bad. But the cam strap is that one that you put it in, you have that little like bar, it's got a bunch of teeth on it that grab the webbing, and then you have that little button that releases it. But that is just hand tight. You can't tighten it more than you can physically do that. Sure. And that's really important, because those ratchet straps, man, you could really over tighten it and damage some stuff.
Yeah, that's big water. I've got a lot of experience running, and that's what I've used over the years, is those bungee cords on the head of the trolling motor, as well as the foot, and to secure it. And I'm looking, because I have a pair of 12-inch Solixes on the front, and I'm looking at these, like I've got 2,000 Islands tournaments on the schedule this year, and
right.
I'm like, how am I going to do this? Because in the past, what I've done is I've taken the units off, just like you did,
right.
But you take them off, and now you've got to put them all back together, which isn't, it's easier to do that than to go fishing for your units when
right.
you stuff a wave and they get ripped right off, I mean, as rigid as bass boat technology stuff is, and that's what I use too. Boy, when you get a couple 100 gallons of water pushing against that flat surface of the unit, man, there's a lot of force there, especially you're going 20 miles an hour,
Not only that, but it puts stress on all the fasteners you've got on it. We've got the Bass Boat Technologies triple mount on the front, and the thing I like about it is it's very low sitting. I don't like anything that's too high. I mean, that's great for being able to see it easier, but when it comes to rough water, like I like things that are real low and close to the deck of the boat. So just for that leverage factor.
Right. Yeah, that's that's going to be a big concern. I'm glad you answered that question for me, because I was looking at all that stuff and figuring it was going to be a rough ride for me for sure. But what do you see, Jason? What are some common mistakes that you see, guys do with their rigging out there that could be fixed?
Yeah, number one is they don't take the time. Everybody's always putting stuff in right before a tournament. I mean,
not me.
Yeah, I mean, well, I try
every time. Yeah.
I mean, obviously everybody wants it done. You want it done now, but there's just no easy way to do it. Like if you take your time, there's a lot of little things that I've picked up. I mean, there's nothing really majorly hard to do. But that's the number one error I see is people just don't take the time to do it right the first time. They'll take a couple shortcuts to save some time to get on the water, and it'll end up costing you.
What about interference? You've got, talk to me about that. You've got all kinds of stuff going on your boat. Miles, how are you defending against interference and preventing that?
So oddly enough, so we started out, so we not only had 360 and the live scope, the Garmin forward facing sonar, we actually put the active target, the new Lowrance one on there too. It looked like Frankenstein between the Hydrowave and those three. It looked awful, and it was just a big clunky thing, but it actually all worked together fairly well. It didn't have a ton of interference. It had some. You could tell definitely between the two forward-looking sonar. We had one in scout mode, that horizontal mode, and then one in the forward-looking, and you could see a little bit of feedback coming back, but you could still see a clear picture of the fish moving around and the structure. So it really wasn't that bad. The main thing, and this is probably the biggest question we get, is how does that all work together? Don't you get a lot of interference? And as long as the frequencies, and you can jump in, correct me whenever you like, but whenever the frequencies overlap, that's when you're going to start getting interference. But say like at the console for my 2D sonar, we'll start with, at the console, I'm using 83, or is it 82?
You use 83.
83 kilohertz at the console. That has a wider cone and sees in deeper water better. And then on the bow, I'm using 200. So those two aren't going to talk because they're totally different frequencies. And then with the 360, the one thing that we did find is that we get interference with mega imaging on the 360. So I end up using just the smaller, I think it's 420 and 450 too, 455. Or 455, something like that, that frequency. And we don't have any issue at all.
So it's all about frequency.
Yeah.
Jason, it's installation errors cause interference, or it's really just a frequency?
You definitely can get some interference from like the motor rigging. Obviously low voltage will cause the units to act up. The main thing on the front and chirp sonar, really, most of these manufacturers are chirping their sonar, so they're sending and receiving a range of frequencies.
Right.
So like on the Mega 360 and the live scope, there's very small windows where they're on the same frequency, and that's the main reason you're not seeing it on the bow. And that's also why it's very prevalent on 2D sonar, is running fixed frequencies on the bow, and at the console, that's where you see it the most common.
Gotcha. Well, I'm not seeing interference on my units. They're of course I'm running just Humminbirds, and they're doing a nice job, but I'm sure everybody else had that question too. And I know we have questions stacking up, Riz, because everybody has questions about these advanced systems. So Rich, what do you got for us?
Yeah, that's right, Pete. Stu on the message board wants to know,
Stu,
as soon as you take a unit out of the box, what would be the most important setting to start adjusting?
Well, any unit, that's the first thing you want to do, it's going to be kind of brand specific. For Humminbird, like on the Helix line, I pretty much automatically go in there and change it from angler mode to custom mode, which gives you 100 different options in the menu. So that, on the Humminbird setup, that's definitely step number one for me. And that's kind of going to be unit specific, but that's kind of hard. Humminbird's definitely going to be.
It also depends on how you're fishing, where you're fishing. For instance, like if you're on a lake that has a lot of silt and sedimentation, like in the water column, you're going to have to adjust the sensitivity or the gain a little bit, but I think between, with all the brands, they do a really good job of out of the box, you being able to get started. Most of the settings that I have are out of the box. The exception is Humminbird. Humminbird is great at allowing you to really adjust a lot of things and fine tune it. So with Humminbird, I'll adjust it a little bit, but that really depends on the situation, what's giving me the best picture and the day. But with Garmin and Lowrance, I don't tend to do a whole lot with Garmin. I've been messing around with like the palettes a lot because I find myself having to like cast shade over the unit to see it in some of the palettes. So I've kind of fine tuned those. But
why you casting shade, bro? Come on.
And nowadays I cast a much bigger shadow than I used to. So there's purpose to this gut.
I got you.
I gotta say the one that that I alter a lot is the range, like especially on the 360. I've adopted, I bring it in, I do a lot of shallow water fishing, and I get it off the auto setting and I keep it at 50 feet. So it does a lot of things. You can more consistently identify the size of objects or the size of fish if it's not jumping around with the auto feature. So that's probably the most common thing I change.
I've got one.
Hold on, I got one thing before, I don't want to derail the whole conversation. Jason, you're the tech guy here. Why is my mouse cursor not showing up right now? There it is. Why does that happen?
What is this, the Mac store? The Apple store? Might be. Yeah, actually, you should cross promote.
Yeah.
We need to cross promote.
So I got another answer to that question, and it's gonna come off a little flippant, but turn off fish, the fish mode. What is it? Fish reveal. Not just fish reveal, but that one where it shows you an actual icon of a fish.
Oh yeah.
I don't ever see that much anymore. I don't think they have it that
fish
much.
Symbols.
The fish symbols, yeah.
Turn
that off. Don't. I love watching it because like you'll see a unit like in demo mode at the store. Yeah, and it's like all of a sudden you see
always
like
the
1,000
best spot
fish.
in the world. Demo mode's on that juice, boy.
Have you guys ever fished for a while with demo mode on? I think I have.
Like, dude,
early on in the
them,
beginning,
son.
I'm like, they're everywhere.
The mega school.
Yeah. Why can't I make them bite? I don't understand.
Who knew there was a ledge out here on Newton Creek?
Fishing Okeechobee. I'm like, damn, this is a big hole.
I love it. Ritz, let me send it back to you. Let's let the people talk.
Absolutely. Matt G wants to know, are there any electronics that perform better running off of lithium batteries? And also, are there any downsides to running your electronics off of lithium-style batteries?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can say one piece of technology that works a lot better is the troll motor.
Yeah.
I run the Motor Guide Tour Pro, and with lithium, I mean, I'm not just saying that because I'm partnered with, full disclosure, partnered with Battleborn Batteries. Okay. And I wasn't sure like how big of a deal it would be in the beginning, but what really, there was two things that really just opened my eyes, like how important a lithium system is for your troll motor. That was fighting heavy current below the dam at Chickamauga all day and going through grass on Lake Okeechobee this year. I mean, when it used to be when I was fishing with old lead acid technology, I was actually, running out of juice by the end of the day. So it's like you need 100% power to get through some of these grass flats, and with the old, lead acid or AGM batteries, I would start to taper off, and you wouldn't have enough power to get through these grass flats. But with lithium, they stay 100% the entire day. It's a flat curve. They don't drop off, and I've never run out of juice, which is really an important and critical part. I mean, and until you run into that situation where you start running out of juice at the end of the day, maybe you're sight fishing trying to find beds, you don't know how important that is when it comes to that troll motor system.
Yeah, lithium is definitely the way of the future. I mean, that's the way everything's going. The main reason is because you can pack so much power in a smaller footprint, lighter weight. It's a lot more efficient, and it holds a higher voltage. So there's not necessarily a specific unit that will work better. Pretty much all units work better on lithium just because you don't have that voltage drop off. The only main difference is, when lithium's dead, it's dead. However, you're able to store so much more power. I mean, it's pretty much, going to replace all your traditional batteries, any AGM, lead acid. I mean, lithium's the way to go. The construction of them and in the marine environment's the big thing I see, you know, durability, safety. So you definitely want a good battery back there, and there's a lot of odd and end stuff.
You know, a lot of guys, and you know, not to crack on lithium, but a lot of guys tried lithiums and they had issues and failures with them. Have they come along? Is the technology advancing? Are they becoming a more durable and dependable product these days?
Yeah. Well, I definitely think lithium is going to be a lot more durable. The thing is, you know, obviously people, when you spend that much money, because they're a lot of money, you put all your hope into it. And the thing with lithium is it operates great until it's dead. When it's dead, it's done. So you don't have a warning. Traditionally, people had warning. They get low voltage, their trolling motor gets weak. They're like, oh yeah, my batteries are dying. So they kind of know, but it's a complete shock when your lithiums go dead. And that's the main learning curve, we'll call it. But there's a lot of charging, wiring. There's a lot of things to throw in there. There is some bad lithium batteries out there, but there's a lot of good ones as well. So, I mean, that's the way that the future is going. That's the way to power your components.
I think it's just like any other piece of technology. I mean, when it's new, they're working through the kinks. Battleborn, one of the special things about them is the fact that they put so much effort and energy into creating a battery that's extremely safe. I mean, that was kind of early on one of the most important things for people, and one of the reasons why it kind of limited people from moving over to that technology. It wasn't necessarily just the price tag. It was the fact that you had some reports of, you know, some things going wrong with them, you know. But nowadays, I mean, I've been running the same set of batteries for, you know, a little over 2 years now, and I just keep on putting them in. You know, they're so proud. I mean, they're so sure about their technology. It's got a 10-year warranty, and so I mean that right there speaks for itself.
Holy cow, 10-year warranty.
10 years, yeah, you can put it in 10 boats, and it's still warranted.
Wow.
Man, what's the price point on, you know, what or do they operate on the same group system that your lead acid uses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're 12-volt batteries. The Battleborn ones are just 12-volt replacements. I think they have a footprint of a group 29 or 31.
31, yep.
And you can just, you know, slap them in there and replace them. I see other, you know, brands using the all-in-one 36-volt system,
yep,
but I like the 12-volt system, having, you know, the individual batteries.
Okay.
I think that overall that's a more powerful system.
Okay. And they're because we're talking about them here on the show, they're going to offer the consumers 50% off or buy one get one.
That's right.
I did not talk to them about that, but
use the code BTC, baby.
I'll give you their contact information.
But I have seen the price points come way down. And I've seen them down to like even as low as $600.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you pay for what you get, because you see them ranging from $600 up to $2,000 for a typical 12-volt.
Yeah, Battleborn actually just started doing these comprehensive bundle packages. So like they're doing, you know, the trolling motor bundle. You know, if you have an RV, they have an RV bundle for different types of RV applications and things like that. So the price point for Battleborn is right around that $1,000 mark, a little less than $1,000. I think it's more close to 900, might be wrong. But yeah, so it's right at that $900 to $1,000 price point per, you know, one 12-volt 100 amp hour battery.
Gotcha. Well, you know, my gosh, if you can get multiple years out of them, it more than pays for itself.
Yeah, and they're super durable. They don't like for instance, we were talking about rough water. Like that's one of the biggest things about lithium is they do not get beat up like traditional lead acid or HEM batteries in rough water. Like that's one of the main things that is a problem with traditional lead acid or AGM is they're susceptible to getting damaged through vibration. And I mean, we get that from just trailering the boat to the next stop. So lithium is much more durable package overall.
Excellent. Well, it's something that I've been looking at, and man, it's everybody's using them. Everybody's talking about it. They're fishing for multiple days in a row without charging. It's It's
I
insane.
wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't recommend that. I've done that by accident. The only time I ever do that is by accident. But you know, and nowadays, like with the power pole charge system, I mean, that also helps the whole deal.
Riz, let me throw it back to you. I know we have some more power questions over there.
Yeah. So we got another power question related to power sources, but before I get to that, just real quick in simple terms, and this is just for me personally, what is the difference between a traditional lead acid and an AGM, other than, you know, the battery life? Like as far as the technology of the battery itself, how does the AGM differ from the traditional lead acid?
That guy.
Yeah, so your lead acid, physically there's liquid water in lead plates. The AGM's absorbed glass mat, so it's almost like a matte material that is in, so it's a lot more durable. Typically with those, you get a higher reserve capacity and a greater discharge, so more cycles. Your lead acid will gas or vent, and they'll physically evaporate, and there's no more chemical inside of them to operate. So it's basically completely sealed, and it's just the internal construction. But basically, the lead acid that's inside of them is very, very close chemistry wise. It's mainly all construction.
Oh, sorry, Rich.
Okay, gotcha. That makes good sense now. And the question that I have for you from the message board is from Brucey. What's up, Brucey, on the board? He wants to know what would be the best and most efficient way for him to tap into power on the front deck of his boat.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
This is why I brought him.
Yeah,
this is why I wanted him on board. This is perfect.
It's pretty. You don't want to tap in, more or less. Most boat manufacturers, you can run a small unit on the front, you know, a 9-inch or below, but typically, and there's a few brands that you can do dual units, and it's adequate. However, I would recommend just running dedicated wire from the bow. I mean, we have a bunch of different wiring components that we use and custom build some harnesses. There's a lot of convenient harnesses on the market that you can get, but that's the deal. I would run dedicated wire, especially if it's going to be a 12-inch unit or above, or dual graphs, bus block, dedicated wire, tied in, fuse it, and put a breaker in the back to protect it, and you're good to go. So don't tie in.
Do you network? Well, you can't network all your units. Obviously, they're not talking to each other. Miles, what's network together?
A little bit. The NEMA 2000 network, we do string them together, and there are certain things that they can talk to each other with.
Yeah, we put both. I mean, both. He's got a redundant system, so he's got dual Solixes. You know, Solix 12 at the console and one at the front. They have an Ethernet cable, so they're completely their own deal. And same thing with the Live. They've got an Ethernet they share. And then NEMA 2000, you know, we can use standardized components. I mean, the 0.1 antenna you can pretty much use on about every brand. It's standard NEMA 2000. You can't calibrate it on a Humminbird or a Garmin, but you can still use it as a source. And then calibration wise, you can do from a Lowrance. So long as you don't have interference, it's good. So he's pretty much got two redundant systems.
Which I think is a big deal for tournament fishing. I mean, see, the thing is, you know, there's a lot of controversy around electronics and like how crazy it's getting with these boats. But the thing is, you know, when you're fishing, you know, for a living, you've got to have all those different components. That you got to have every single tool at your disposal, and every single brand brings a specific thing. But one thing that I really appreciate about what we've done is having that redundancy and having a system that's kind of by itself. You know, like we were talking about, that the Solixes are kind of by themselves. They're linked together, not linked into the NEMA network. If something happens to go wrong, I've experienced multiple units going down at the same time. For whatever reason, the glitch kind of spilled over to the whatever components were on the system. So I want a system that can still get me going. Like the first event at Sam Rayburn, when we first had this 3-unit system, for some reason, I don't know if it was the cold or what was going on, but there was something going wrong with my Lowrances. They were shutting down and restarting and constantly doing that. And I'm running through a stump field, you know, so I need to have my mapping. And then that Lowrance or that Humminbird was right there. I mean, rock solid, just continuing to giving me my Navionics maps to help me navigate, through that stump field. So that's the kind of situation that in tournament fishing, it's so important to have like a backup plan, a plan B, some redundancy to allow you to have a backup plan. And
Absolutely.
I think that's one thing that is becoming more and more apparent to people, because before it's they had one brand, one system all linked together, and if something went wrong, possibly the whole system has glitches and issues, and then they're kind of dead in the water for using that technology. But nowadays, I think with all the different brands being used on each boat, it allows for some redundancy that helps you in those situations when you come to an issue that was unforeseeable. I mean, that happens to everybody. Something's always going to happen. So having a plan B, having a spare of something is critical.
Man, we carry spare everything out on the tournament trail. I totally get it, and redundancy is key. I'm seeing a lot of guys are using that forward facing sonar, and that unit is isolated and dedicated to just doing that job, not talking to any other of the other units. Or Jason, are you seeing that? Why are guys choosing to do that?
Well, for one, is screen space. Your forward-looking live sonar takes up so much screen space, so they simply don't want to use up or take away from the other features they're relying on. Their waypoint system and mapping, or 2D sonar, clear view, side view, whatever other sources that they're relying on. That live view forward is a whole nother feature. So instead of adding it on a unit, people are adding it on a whole different display so they can independently control it. But that's kind of the main thing. It's just kind of easy to add on to the boat.
Gotcha. Well, we're seeing it a lot, and I know, Alex, you're watching a lot of our social feeds, and I'm sure there's some guys over there with some questions. What do you got for us?
Absolutely, yeah. We got some.
Hold on, I can't find the mouse again. Cursor. Oh wait, she's back.
We're gonna get a sponsorship from LASIK eye surgery.
Yeah. We need a Bash U IT department.
Premier Optics.
Yes.
We do.
But go ahead.
Jitterbug mouse. It's got a cursor that's like the size of your hand.
Big as your head. I like it.
Oh man. Yeah, we do want to thank everyone for hanging out on YouTube, and especially over on the instant feedback. But we got a great question coming in on YouTube for you, Miles. Bo Judd, he wants to know, so this is kind of specific, but I think it'll help out a lot of people. So he wants to know about fishing his 360 in deep water. So what he's saying is when he's in about 20 feet of water, he's not seeing any return on his 360 until he gets to about that 20-foot ring around his 360. So when he sees a stump that's at that 40-foot ring of his 360, is that stump really 20 feet away since he's not seeing any return on his 360 until he hits that first ring? Or is it 40 feet away like the ring is telling him?
Well, what he's doing is he's actually seeing the water column. So that 20 foot, he's just seeing the water column because he's in 20 foot. So you have 20 foot of just blackness, just straight up, darkness there. And then all of a sudden the bottom shows up. So what he's seeing, I think, is he's seeing the water column. So essentially what 360 is, for everybody that doesn't know the technology, is it's essentially a radar type orientation of side imaging sonar. So it's spinning around and repopulating itself and creating that image as it spins, just like a radar does. And so what you're seeing is the center of the screen is the boat, where the transducer is, and then you have whatever depth you're at, you've got a water column that's just shown up as black, where you can see some fish or bait fish or whatever it is in the water column, and then you have the bottom after that in a circular orientation. So I think what he's seeing is just the water column. I don't know if that's kind of what you're getting from that too.
Yeah, 100%. Another thing, Miles touched on it earlier. Miles runs 455 frequency on his Mega 360. So you have both options. And in deep water, that 455, you get that added range. So that would be another recommendation. It may help extend his range and make it a little bit easier to interpret, but it is side imaging. So it's just like on your side imaging, if you're in 20 feet, you got that water column in 20 feet and so on.
That's actually a really good kind of a segue into, you know, what's going on with these different frequencies. So one thing that I want people to keep in mind is that everybody wants those high frequencies, because the higher the frequency, generally the clearer the picture, the more target separation you're going to get. That's why going from 2D sonar, which is the lowest, you know, of the frequencies, to down imaging and side scan was so revolutionary, because it had the great target separation that showed you the fish. It showed you exactly what you're looking at, that big blob, that all those little fish markings with your fish reveal was showing was a brush pile after all. And so the caveat to the higher frequency is the higher the frequency, the less efficiently it goes through the water column. So it doesn't do as well in deeper water. So the deeper water, the deeper the water, that I tend to go more toward, and the further that I want an image, like say on my side imaging, the lower the frequency I'm going to run in it. So at the console, for instance, I'm going to be running 455 if I want a really, really wide area to cover. And if I want that real high definition, real close to the boat, and I'm in shallow water, that's where you're going to use the mega imaging and things like that. So everybody wants to kind of use the mega imaging, which is a great tool, but just keep in mind that the deeper water that you're in and the larger the area you want to cover, the less efficiently that signal is going to go through the water. So you're going to have less range.
Well, it's boy, that's a lot. That's a lot to talk about. And I mean, let me ask you this real quick, and I'm going to throw it back to you for a question, Riz. How are you learning this, right? Are you locking your rod lockers and, you know, going out for 8 hours a day? How are you learning all this stuff, Miles?
I don't know. A lot came from Jason. A lot was they don't call me Sonar for nothing.
Come on, man. It's in his blood.
but
better than radio.
So to be honest, to be completely honest, before I partnered with Jason, I was really rudimentary as far as the systems that I had. I did have like a 3-unit system right before we started working together, which was great. But didn't have forward-looking sonar, which was just coming onto the market, and didn't have 360. And really, it was early on. I think most of the learning that I had to do was early on when side imaging came on the scene, you know, back in like 2007 or something like that. I spent so much time figuring out like what I was looking at. And once you kind of get the basic idea of like what sonar is doing, it doesn't matter which platform it's in and what type of orientation it is. It's the same principle. Like for instance, like 2D sonar, it's a cone, you know, everybody knows it's a cone shaped signal. And the higher the frequency, the narrower the cone's going to be. And you're utilizing the same type of technology with side imaging and forward looking sonar. It's just in a different way. So I guess it was all self-taught in the beginning. And when I say self-taught, I mean like going to YouTube and doing research and doing things like people are doing right now, listening to us. I don't consider myself an expert at all this stuff. I'm really good at being able to use it and apply it to my fishing, but I can't say that. That's the reason I had to have Jason on, because I knew I was going to get a lot of questions that I just could not answer. But really, it's a kind of a painful question or an answer for me to give. But it's time on the water and you know, just doing some research like everybody's doing right now. Just kind of listening to the people that use it.
Excellent. Well, I have done that. I've spent a couple days with my rod lockers closed, and that's how I've moved a little bit. And I got to keep doing it, because we don't get to fish that much. You know, nobody gets to fish enough. And when you get out there, you want to fish, and it's hard to, you know, take a step back and, you know, look at a brush pile, look at a stump, see how your units are reacting to it. That's key stuff.
If I might add one more thing, I think one of the problems that we have nowadays is I think that people overemphasize a certain piece of technology. Like side imaging, as good as it is, it's really great for getting that macro picture of what's going on at the bottom, finding the structure and the fish holding cover and things like that under the water. But it's not as I think a lot of people get frustrated because they don't see fish on it as much. And seeing fish can be very difficult if you don't know to look for the little shadows that give a little bit better contrast or something like that. The shadows usually tell the tale on a lot of things. But I think a lot of people's frustration with electronics is the fact that, every new piece of technology is supposed to be the latest and greatest. But each piece of technology that we have right now, including 2D sonar, is not obsolete, and you have to use them together to get the entire picture. If that makes sense. I may have just gone around in a circle.
No, it's agreed. And it's, I'm sure everybody at home appreciates all the knowledge that's being dropped on them right now. And Riz, I know you have another question. What do you got for us?
I got two questions. The first one's going to come from me, myself, and I. And I want to know what are some things I can do to maximize the performance of my through-hole transducer specifically. Right now, I'm getting a pretty clean beam on the bottom at like 40 to like 45 in there. Is there any way that I can, adjust my settings or adjust the actual through-hole transducer to really, really get a good picture at those higher speeds for when I'm power graphing across big flats?
So that's all install and boat construction. Honestly, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you could put in a new one. A lot of times I see the transducer, when people epoxy them in, they'll put them dead center of the boat. It's actually the thickest part of the fiberglass, so it has the hardest time to shoot through. The main thing is, there's air. The only way that sonar is losing contact at the bottom is there's air coming under it. So obviously, depending on the boat, depending on the water conditions, there's going to be times where you're going to have an air void between the water and the transducer at high speeds, rough water, whatever, and there's nothing you can really do.
Okay.
I've installed one on a Ranger that tracks bottom depth at 72 miles per hour. Big, heavy boat. That hole is always in contact. Most of your boats, 45's pretty good. And really, to track bottom, you're typically going to be in that slower speed. When you're running wide open, it doesn't do you any good.
You better be keeping your eyes on the road at that point.
You're done. 45 and below, that's perfect. You can stay on plane. You could actually see bait. I have people that'll cover water at slow speeds and see bait balls offshore. If you're running unfamiliar, shallow water, you can track bottom. So I wouldn't worry about it if you're tracking bottom up to 45. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's real solid. Yeah.
And the other question is from William Selby, and he wants to know: is there a difference between interference feedback on an aluminum boat as opposed to a fiberglass boat?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of aluminum boats. Most aluminum boats don't have a jack plate. You get a lot of motor interference, especially when you're trimmed down. A lot of aluminum boats have pods off the side that can block the side imaging arrays. Aluminum boats are by far probably one of the hardest. The main thing would be, the motor not having a jack plate. When you trim it down, one of your side imagings is going to have a shadow. And you have such a small space to mount it to.
Oh yeah.
Obviously the number one question is people want that transducer to read while they're running down, especially with all these all-in-one transducers. However, most installs we don't install it that way. It's about a 1/4 inch up from the hole, so you can't hit it or knock it off.
So when I'm side imaging, are you saying I should have my jack plate all the way up?
You want to raise the motor up, but mainly the trim. You want to get the motor out of the path of the arrays on the side. So yeah, you almost want to trim up.
Okay.
If you trim all the way down, you should see a shadow. If the transducer's mounted on the right and you trim down, you should see that left image get darker, or cut out. Obviously, every boat's a little bit different, but aluminum boats are pretty tedious.
When you see Rich going across the flats like this, he's graphing.
Yeah.
Technically, you don't, when you're idling around using side imaging too, you don't want to have your exhaust, dug into the water too much.
Right.
That's not great for the engineer.
Right. So trim it up,
trim it up a little bit.
Get it out of the way. Makes good sense. What have you guys played around with the high speed side imaging? I know guys are mounting that transducer lower and trying to get be able to cover water at 20 and 30 miles an hour?
I've had some boats that I could do that a little bit. This one this year, I can't. I probably could if I ended up, adjusting the angle of the transducer a little bit. But I don't generally use the side imaging, at high speeds. A lot of guys do, and sometimes you get a boat that allows you to do that, so you don't have like interference from something. But I don't do that a whole lot. Honestly.
The risk and reward's not there. I mean, if you've got that transducer low enough in the water column to mark returns at high speed, I mean, you got clean water to be in contact with, you're going to hit something, and it produces a lot of drag and spray. So the way these transducers are, unless you do a true through hole, I mean, we've done some larger boats with true through holes that are always in contact, and they can read it at speed. But on bass boats, the risk versus reward, in my opinion, is not there, because it's not if you're going to hit something, that's when. And these transducers are $300, $400, $500, and some you can't even get right now. So I don't see the benefit, but you technically could do it.
Yeah, and I like using just the regular 2D for faster idling. At the 83 kilohertz frequency, that's a wide cone, right angle, so that allows me to cover a lot of water, especially if you're in deeper water. The deeper the water, the wider area you're going to be covering.
Gotcha. Hey guys, we're gonna take a break. Will you guys hang in there with us for some more questions?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Jason, tell people, if they want to reach out to you and they want to get their boats rigged or ask questions or buy products from you, how do they do that?
Yeah, the best way is our website, bassboatelectronics.com. Again, the main thing, probably our number one question that we get people calling in is if we actually have the product. And we've put a lot of systems in place to get our inventory online that's live. So it says we have one, we literally have one. And if you want it, you better buy it, because it's going to be gone. And somebody could walk in, if somebody walks in our retail store and buys it, it automatically comes off our website as well. So all our inventory is live online, so you can see what we do have and what we don't have. We don't pre-sell anything, but you can message us through our website, social media. Right now, the demand's so high that we're kind of bogged down a little bit, but we definitely, leave a voicemail and we get back to you. That's just part of it, but our website's the main way to get a hold of us.
Excellent. Well, guys, go check that out. And BTC, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back with more Sonar with the guys that know. We'll be back right after this.
Moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail. Happens every time. The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil. Gotta keep the rust off all these baits. WD-40.
Keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
All right. Welcome back. We are Bash University live. We've got Miles Burghoff with us, MLF Pro, and we've got Jason Cassell. Am I saying that right, Jason?
Castle.
Dang it. I was trying too hard.
King of the castle, baby. King of the castle.
I was adding all kinds of flavor and French and stuff.
Oh man,
Sorry, Jason.
We screw it up every time.
Jason Cassell.
I like it.
My bad.
Jason Castle. Well, I appreciate you guys being with us, and we're all learning, and want to welcome you guys on the IM board. Ask any question you want to this panel because they know the deal. So
they do.
Whatever sonar you're using, it's now's the time. And right now we've got some YouTube stuff, and I want to throw it back over to Alex to talk to our YouTube group.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be more of a question for Jason, but over on YouTube, Ray Willett wants to know, how do you rig the transducers to use side imaging at the same time from two different manufacturers? So for an example, he wants to run a Humminbird and a Lowrance side imaging at the same time. How would you rig that?
So the main key is you want them on the same plane. You don't want one higher than the other. So you want them level. That way their beams can go evenly. I mean, each boat can present its own problems on real estate on the back of the boat. Transducer Shield and Saver makes some jack plate mounts that are pretty convenient, where you can do a right one and a left one with an L bracket mounted on. So that's a pretty easy way. Miles, I think we just mounted directly on the transom on the back of his boat. He had the real estate available.
I have zero interference.
So the key is having them on the same plane. You don't want one lower than the other. And you really don't want them right next to each other. You probably, I would say a minimum 12 inches, but probably 18 inches apart. And you don't want them too high in the water column, but on the same plane will be the main deal.
Gotcha. Alex, can I throw it back to you? Do we have some more questions over there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Walt on the YouTube as well, he wants to know, how long is the lag or the latency between the time when he passes over a fish or something, anything on the bottom, and it appears on his screen? Is it instant? Is it a couple seconds? What's your opinion on that?
Depends on the technology. If it's 2D sonar, depending on the cone angle, that fish will be in the cone much longer. But like side imaging or down scan, it's such a narrow the cone angle that it's going to pass over it very, very quickly. So it's like, and it also depends on how fast you're going. If you're sitting still, on the trolling motor, what's going to happen is, like, a lot of people look for arches. One of the biggest misconceptions is like fish always show up as arches. That's only when you're moving at a good speed, to pass over that fish fast enough to create an arch. Otherwise, if you're sitting on the bow, if that fish is underneath the boat for, a few seconds or longer, it's going to come up as a worm, just this long stretched out image. And so it really depends on a lot of different factors. And usually you can tell with like 2D sonar, with like forward facing sonar, if you're using the down orientation or the forward, it's easy to tell because you can see them right below the boat, swimming around. With traditional sonar, the highest return, like the brighter the return of that fish, the closest to right below the boat. That's when it's going to be closest to right below the boat.
Another key that I'd add is, 2D sonar is technically live. The screen that you see is over time. So by the time that fish is in the middle of the screen, it could easily be 20, 30, 40, 50 feet farther back. A lot of units you can turn on an A scope, stands for amplitude scope, and that basically is just like a flasher. It's a live view of what that transducer is doing. So 2D sonar can be live, but as it paints on the screen, that's going to be your history deal. But it's how people vertical fish, is with that A scope on the front and watching their bait fall down vertically.
And another thing is, I said that I use 83 kilohertz at the console, but I also use 200 at the bow. And one of the reasons I use 200 with the narrower cone is because when I see a fish on the screen, I know it's pretty much right below the boat where I'm going to be presenting my vertical presentation. So it's like right there. With a lower frequency and a wider beam, you got this huge, cone, and the fish could be anywhere. And it could be, you could be dropping the bait outside of their strike zone, so they won't come to get it. But with 200, that's the reason I keep it at 200, also because it would interfere with the 83 at the console. But 200, it allows you to know that fish is right below you if you see it on the screen.
Great stuff. Great questions, guys. Appreciate you hanging out with us over on YouTube. And just to remind you guys, we got tons of prizes we're giving away. We've got trivia question coming tonight that BTC is putting together as we speak. And we also have a Facebook like and share contest that we're going to be giving away prize for. So make sure you like and share. What was that, BTC? You got your question ready?
Yeah. As always, guys, we got a few things going on. We have a grand prize that we're giving away for a trivia question that's going to be related to a topic in tonight's show. The grand prize tonight is what's laid out in front of me. It's 2 Gills hats, a Bass University official hat, a couple of Rapala crankbaits, a Flambeau box, and some missile baits. And since we have our man Miles Burghoff on, we're also going to throw on $30 worth of Z-Man baits included in that grand prize that'll be getting sent your way.
A minimum of $30 value.
The minimum. So you might get more. And if you're watching over on Facebook tonight, we're doing a Bass University official hat and another $30 minimum prize pack from Z-Man Baits. And guys, if you want to get involved in tonight's show, don't wait around. Get signed up for Bass UTV. You can get 50 days off right now, or you can get 50 days for free, or save $50 on your annual membership during our 50/50 promotion. And without any ado, we have Matt in Wisconsin wants to know: do you have any tips or techniques to use universal 360 on a setup on a boat that has a trolling motor such as an Ulterra?
Yeah, so the Ulterra is the best thing on an Ulterra is actually Fishing Specialties, the company that's really popular for a separate pole mount. You actually can mount the 360 on a removable pole, and it's fixed independent of the trolling motor. The Ulterra, with how many sensors it is, it's a nightmare to mount the 360 on it. You don't want to do it. The Tarova, you can do it with the shaft that slides in and out. There's some mounts for that, but the Ulterra, you don't want to mount the 360 to it. I would recommend the Fishing Specialties separate pole. You can just pop it in and it's fixed. It's got a little notch that'll line it in place, and have your trolling motor independent. So on that specific motor, don't do the 360 to it.
What are you eating there, Brian?
Hungry?
Dinner. We got some pasta, some broccoli, chicken.
You got to share?
That's delicious.
By the way, Matt in Wisconsin, you just won yourself a Gills Gear $25 gift card for that question. Gills Gear official, guys, you can see we're wearing it every single show. I'm rocking a shirt right now. This stuff's awesome. Head over to gillsgear.com to get yourself some. And Matt in Wisconsin, you got yourself a $25 gift card for that question.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Riz.
And some pasta.
We're all using AquaView. And we've started incorporating that into our time on the water, our fishing. And I know there's a lot of units that AquaView can incorporate right into the Humminbird Apex and some other units. What's your experience, Jason, with the AquaView unit, and how are guys using it?
Yeah, that's a great deal. I see a lot of people that use it, especially up north for spawning smallmouth. You know, you used to see people that have that big periscope, the flogger that look down on it,
Love that
hanging
one.
over it. So now you can just drop your camera down there and have it on whatever unit you got. I mean, obviously there's not every unit has a video input. A lot of the Garmin GPS maps do, HGS Live, and of course the Apex unit from Humminbird. So
see, I didn't know that. I might have to invest
learn
in
something
one of
new.
those.
Yeah, you've got dual HDMI camera inputs, but anyway, yeah. So you want to make sure that you get the right camera setup. Otherwise, you know, the AquaView, you can have its own separate monitor. You know, you don't have to have a compatible chart plotter. That's just if you want to utilize it. So that, I mean, those things are pretty awesome. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios where it's very beneficial. I've seen some pro anglers in marinas. They'll actually drop it down below marinas so they can look back and see all the pylons and pretty big fish living under there.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a pole mount for their camera, and you can go underneath docks with it, underneath all kinds of stuff to really assist. And so far, what I've been using it for is that habitat identification. When I see something that's, you know, I'm not quite sure, is this sand? Is this, you know, what kind of bottom am I dealing with? I can just go and find it out, you know. And,
have you ever used it to find the cursor on your screen?
That's actually a really good point. Like one of the ways that you figure out like what you're looking at, like on your electronics, is by knowing what's there, you know, already, you know, and so using a camera like that to like, okay, that looks kind of weird. That's a weird type of grass I haven't seen before. Put that down. Now you know how to identify that particular type of structure or cover, you know, the next time you see it.
Right. And these units are great, guys. If you haven't tried them, go check them out. They are plug and play. It's like, man, oh man, you take it out of the box, turn it on, and you're looking underwater. So it's pretty awesome. Jeff Gustafson was talking to us about how he uses it on, you know, some of the lakes that he fishes. One of which, of course, is Thousand Islands. It's got, you know, such great visibility. And you know, the schools of fish that he's been able to find there, but also other places, like he was talking about Cayuga Lake, finding, you know, an isolated piece of cover that couldn't pick a fish off of it with his sonar, but the AquaView was able to identify that there was isolated fish on some of that habitat. And yeah, it's exciting stuff, you know.
I heard a lot of guys using that at Erie last year. And they could see, you know, again, we talked about like figuring out what drumar versus smallmouth, which on sonar, you can say what you want. You're not going to be 100% accurate, however good you are at that. But with the AquaView, you know, if they're tightly packed to a boulder, or, you know, I think, you know, Justin Lucas was fishing like a metal steam pipe or something like that from a ship. You could actually see what that is and see the fish that are really tight to that cover.
Right. How they relate to it. So check it out. I know, like I said, we're going to be continuing to use them this year, and I can't wait to see some of the images that we come up with. But we were having a show when we were talking earlier, Miles, about temperature gauges.
Yeah.
we were going off, and I want to ask this to you, Jason, because I gave, you know, Miles my interpretation of what I thought was happening, but as it turns out, I've got 4 temperature gauges on my boat, and they're different. You know, they're, you know, up to, well, in some instances, way off, you know, because they're located in different positions. I have one in my hull that is going to measure the air temperature, you know, and, you know, but by going through my Solix unit, I figured out I have 4 temperature sensors, and I can dial in on which one I want to look at, you know. But what's going on with that? Everyone, like Garmin's temperature, that might say 60 degrees, while Humminbird says 54, and they all seem to be off a little bit. What's happened there? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main thing is, you know, each transducer is manufactured a little bit differently, but essentially for it to get that temperature reading, it's a resistance deal. So you have different wire sizes, different temperature probe. I mean, you've got different runs and distance wise, So the actual temperature sensor being off, and some brands are consistently just different. So I don't know if it's the plugs in the unit, but essentially it's resistance. It's sending power to that probe, and when it's coming back, for it to measure the highs and lows, it's electrical resistance through the line. Some have more, some have less, and that's why they're kind of inconsistent. The multiple sources, I mean, temp sensing, when these units have multiple temperature sources available, they have a hard time of auto detecting which one to use, and then get confused, and they'll just simply not pick one.
It'll be
more or
32
less.
degrees.
Yeah, 32 degrees, or just some simple dashes. So you have to go in there and tell it which temperature source to use. You know, since you've got 4, you get to pick where it pulls from, and unfortunately, none of them are exactly right, but the location of it, the resistance through that wire, and where it's mounted is pretty much the key.
And I think the biggest key that people need to remember is that it's not necessarily what, which one's more accurate. It's not what the temperature is exactly. It's the change in the temperature from, what it was, whatever it may be. And the fact that, temperature gauges are, where they're positioned, makes a big deal. They're going to be deeper on we were talking about that, Pete, yesterday, but they could be deeper on the transom than they are on the bow, which is going to change the temperature. And the simple fact that, that what is being conveyed as far as surface temperature, where those probes are able to pick up the temperature, may not be but a very small sliver of the water column. We all know that, that as you get deeper, you've got different layers of water temperature and oxygen layers. So I don't recommend that everybody just pay attention to temperature like strictly, as an exact science. It's more of the changes that I look for with that.
Agreed.
Because it is confusing. Like with the 3 different brands, my Lowrance is always read a little bit higher. Like if my Hummingbird's saying 60, my Lowrance is going to say 64, and my Garmin, I think, is the coldest running of all of them. So I don't know which one it is, but I just pay attention to that progression, as far as the temperature change.
Right. Is it getting warmer? Is it getting colder?
Right.
That sort of thing. And that's absolutely key. But I wonder, and is there a way to calibrate the temperature gauge? And, I don't know, but I'm going to ask, Humminbird, if there's a way to do that. Do you know, Jason, can we calibrate?
Most of you can do an offset. So you can do a temperature offset, plus and minus.
Gotcha.
So yeah, you can go in there and actually give it an offset. You can't physically go in there and change what it's reading, but I mean, if you knew what the temperature was, then yes, you can do an offset. And again, that's kind of back to the resistance deal. It's sending and receiving electrical signals through that probe, and that resistance is why it's going to be different than what the true temperature was. So yeah, temperature offset, you can do it.
See, because the only time that the temperature to me actually matters is when we're dealing with the spawn season like we're having now, right? That's when you got to kind of know, is the main lake temperature hovering around 60 degrees? If it is, man, it's going down. They're going to be crashing the banks on the beds. But other than that, I completely agree, Miles. It's all about direction, what direction is the temperature going. Well, I used to always do this too, is I'd, when we were around that spawn season, this is how I would calibrate mine, is I'd idle up to everybody. Hey, Miles, what's your temperature gauge say? And I'd compare yours with mine. I'd go up to about 5 people and then, kind of get an average. Oh, okay. We're at about 52 today.
you know about Champlain better than just about anybody. I saw one of the big, I was getting spun out because I was up in Missisquoi, and it was like 73 degrees. And then I went over to, I think, the west side of the lake. I'm not sure what that big side is, but that's where the river comes in, I guess. And It was like 55 degrees or something like that. And I was like, my graphs must be, broken or something. Yeah, but it was crazy that he had that big difference on that lake.
Well, and that is weird, because up there in that Missisquoi, it's so shallow and stained that it warms up. It's the most northern part of the lake, but it gets the warmest. It's really, it is weird when you look at it for the first time like that. But But no, that's temperature is relative, guys. So keep that in mind. And Riz, I'm going to throw it back to you for another IM question.
All right, sounds good, Pete. The $1 million question here, maybe not $1 million. It's going to be actually $25 to Gill's Gear gift cards, but it's going to come from our man Matt Gowdy, and shout out to Matt Gowdy. I met him at the ramp the other day at Northeast Anchor Marine. It was good meeting you, bud. Hope to see you down there again soon. And he wants to know, in high pressure scenarios, how much does your sonar affect the fish because of the sound in the water?
Wow, great question.
That's a great question.
That is a really good question. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that nowadays, with how much sonar signals we're projecting into the water, it's got to affect them. That's why essentially at Okeechobee, I took all of my sonar transducers off and just ran with just the mapping. And because I do feel like it does affect the fish, and especially I see smallmouth reacting to it much more than largemouth in a lot of situations. Not that to say that largemouth aren't affected by those sounds, but smallmouth, you could definitely see them change their mood and their on live sonar and forward facing sonar. I could actually point it at a smallmouth, and as he got closer to the boat, whether he just saw the boat or whatever, I think it was the sonar image, he would actually start going the opposite direction. So one thing I've started to do is, if I'm fishing shallow, all I use is generally is I'll turn off all the other sonar sources other than maybe 2D, just to kind of know what the depth is. But I'll also use the hydro wave. That's one thing that I started to do, is use the hydro wave, just more so just to kind of cover up that sonar signal. I'm not sure if it makes a huge difference. I have seen some instances, especially up north on St. Clair, where the mood of those fish changed when I turned on the hydro wave versus just having the sonar, going. So I think it's going to progressively, probably exponentially affect the fish more and more. And I think it is a big confidence thing, which is always something that you need to be aware of when you're fishing, because confidence is like, magic. I mean, you have to have confidence to really do well. So in those situations where you've got a high pressure lake or something like that, I try to do something a little bit different to kind of cover my tracks a little bit when it comes to those signals.
I just sitting there, Matt, great question. I'm sitting there thinking about it as we're talking. Man, I've got 4 transducers pinging away. I mean, I've got the through hull going. I've got the side imaging, both back at the transom going. I've got my 360 running, and then I've got my transducer off the trolling motor going. I've got 4 going mostly at all times. I didn't really consider it till you asked that question, Matt. Now
when you put
I
your
haven't
units
caught
in
that much
standby?
this year.
Yeah, standby.
Exactly.
I was just gonna say, like, standby should be something that people do all the time if they're going to be fishing an area for more than 5 minutes. You should put it in standby mode. That'll stop the sonar. Does it do it to stop sonar on all brands? I'm pretty sure it stops it in all 3 brands, but that's just good practice, not only for the sound, but also just the power, drawing less power from your batteries, which is going to allow you to get a clearer picture on the bow.
Yep. Just want to give a shout out to GDP. He's not with us tonight. He's down in Texas, getting ready for the elite tournament, which I think starts tomorrow, is the first day of competition. But he had a great tip, and I just want to reiterate it today because we're talking about sonar. Is he takes the lighting, the background light on his screens, and knocks it down from 10 to like 8, and it reduces the power draw on your battery supply tremendously, just by knocking it down a little bit without really noticing, realizing any visual effects.
He's definitely got better eyesight than I do. Yeah. I could not do that during the day. No way.
Well, it's great comments, great stuff. And I want to, Alex, do you have any YouTube questions in the queue?
Yeah, there's some good ones over there, Alex.
There sure is. And one question I've seen just even on YouTube tonight, but a lot in general is people, everyone wants to get live scope or 360, but of course there's a lot of people on a budget. So Miles, I noticed in your setup, you're running a 10-inch Garmin live scope unit. So what in your mind is the perfect size? Obviously you run a 10. Is that in your mind the best budget and most, just the best unit to run for that? I just kind of want your reasoning on why you run the 10.
Yeah. So the 10, we actually used a bunch of different Garmin units for the Panoptics, and I keep coming back to that 1022. I made the comment earlier, I'll probably end up switching to a 12-inch, if I can. I'd rather, the bigger the better, especially with that sort of technology. When it comes to side imaging and forward-looking sonar and 360, you really should get the biggest you can. I would say the minimum is a 9-inch for sure. I ran a 9-inch unit last year in a pinch at the Harris Chain event, and he does a bundle for, what was it, the 93 XSB or something like that.
That was the 1022.
No. It was we on the Sweetwater boat.
It was a 10-inch Ultra.
It was, yeah, but
with you had the baby live scope, the LVS 12.
Whatever.
Sorry.
But no, so I would say 10-inch, 9 or 10 inch is a really good size. And the reason I like that 1022 is I think that the screen is more vibrant on that one. Honestly, it's been my favorite. There's some that it's not a touch screen. I actually like the little knob that they have on there and the functions of that. So my reasoning for it was because I like the screen. I think it's a little bit crisper, and I think that the screen is a little bit faster, the processing speed. It may be just in my head, but because it doesn't have that touch screen function, I think it's a little bit faster. And I'm never touching it. I'm never really needing a touch screen function with forward-facing Sonar Panoptics. So when it comes to a budget, he's got some really good bundles. He really does. He's got that one that it's that transducer that's just the one forward looking. That was the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
In
that 1022 can't be beat for the money. By far, for live scope, it's the best screen, both size. Like you said, it's very vivid. It's a traditional LCD display, so it's very bright. That rotary knob is money for live scope. I mean, you can control everything you can control from just that rotary knob once you get it set up.
Yeah. So I would say that I wouldn't dive into the technology of forward-facing sonar 360. You can get away with side imaging nowadays, with a 7-inch screen, but really, save up and get at least a 9 or 10-inch unit for those, because the whole purpose of it is to see such a large area of the water column. And if you have a small screen, man, you're going to be, squinting and trying to, really struggling to see everything you need to see.
Well, the technology is available on multiple size units, and that is true, right? So even though you are going to be compromised with a smaller screen, you can still get it on the smaller units.
Yeah,
if that's what your budget, dictates.
Small units matter too.
But yeah, size does matter. Nice. Bundles. That's what I have to say. Bundles.
Bundles. Yeah. Tell me some stories about forward-facing sonar, like how it's helped you in a tournament situation in the last year or two, and what did that look like?
So we already talked about like St. Clair quite a bit, and also Hamilton, Lake Hamilton for the Cup when I was fishing all those brush piles. I mean, I've had so many of those situations that have really paid off. But one that also sticks out on my mind was last year with Lake Seminole. I was fishing this creek channel bend in Spring Creek, and I had fished for the same fish for 3 days, and on the third day it was getting really tough for me to find them. Anymore. I'd worked that point where that creek channel bent right up to it for quite a while. And so I remember I was really struggling, and then I just sort of started scanning with the Panoptics live scope, and I saw where the creek channel kind of it made a drop. That ledge kind of made a drop, and there were some trees down there, and I could see fish swimming around, those trees. And so I could make the exact cast, watch my, I was using the Z-Man Mag Fatties at that point, just on Texas rig. I could watch it go all the way down, and I'd see those fish come down and pick it up. And I caught several of the key fish that got me, a top 30 finish. I think I was in the teens at that event or something like that. But that kind of situation has happened a lot, with this technology. And even at, Chickamauga, it played a big role last year with that. 360 actually probably played a bigger role than Panoptics, because in that current, you put my motor guide, I put it on anchor mode, and so the trolling motor's kind of doing its own thing. And when it's doing its own thing, it's hard to control. You never know where that arrow is going to go next. So the 360, because it's stationary by itself, I could actually, follow the schools of fish around and stay, find the structure that way.
How do you have your 360 set up?
So we had a kind of a custom mount. I met the guy today. He's a really nice guy that I guess he has a machine shop or something like that. But yeah. I'm gonna let's get his number. Let's throw it up. But he ended up because I don't know if there's an actual good mount for the motor guide trolling motor yet. But we got one that actually clamps onto the shaft, and it works really, really well. He just kind of drilled out a Minn Kota one.
Yeah, we use the Fortrex mount for, you actually use the Fortrex mount on the Lowrance Ghost. It clamps directly on that diameter, and obviously the Fortrex motor. So we use that system. However, the outside diameter on the Tour Pro was larger, so we basically had to have it custom machined out and bored out to the same diameter of the Tour Pro. But essentially, that's all it is. Now it's pretty tedious on how we did it, but we used the Fortrex mount, bored it out to match it, and he can clamp it on, clamp it off, and it's awesome. I mean, the Fortrex mount mode, is a pretty neat deal. I like it better than the whole fixed mount.
So get yourself a buddy that has a machine shop, and drill out the Fortrex mount if you have a motor guide. But
be careful.
they'll be coming out with something soon, I'm sure. But that's how we got it set up.
Do you do any adjustments on the screen? Like, what are you using there? Are you
really,
keeping it tight or expanding?
I pretty much keep it at like a lazy cast length, like 100, like 85 feet is what I keep 360 at. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I use the lower frequency just because we also have, some other high frequency signals up there. And I mess around with the sensitivity a little bit on that, just depending on how hard the bottom is on a lake. If it's on a lake that has a lot more silt, you want to pump up that sensitivity a little bit to get a brighter return. And the opposite is true when you're on a hard bottom lake. You can bump it down. You don't want everything too bright because then you don't have enough contrast. And so I'll mess around with the sensitivity a little bit, but I pretty much keep it at that 85 foot range, something around there.
Gotcha. Well, of course I fish shallow all the time, so I've moved mine in a little bit tighter, when I'm in that shallow water all the time.
Where do you keep it?
I keep it at 50. Honestly,
50?
I keep it at 50. And we had Bill Lowen on, and he's fishes in the dirt, and he started talking about, because I'm learning all the time. This is relatively new to me, and I'm, like I said, I went out practicing, my sonar a lot this year.
Right.
But Bill brought his in the shallow water, and I started doing that, and I love it, and I keep it on the mode. I don't even know the name of it, but where I'm not shooting full 360. I'm cutting off. I'm looking forward. Mainly.
That's what I do too. Yeah. I've already seen what's behind me. So, and you get a bigger, view of it.
Right.
But yeah, I like it at 85 just because I'm a little bit worried that I'll get to something too quick. If I'm moving fast, I want to see it before I get to it.
Yeah.
But it's just all how you fish. I mean, Bill Lowen, he probably hasn't made a cast past 35 feet in probably a decade, and he just catches them like that, like crazy. But
he's, you hit the nail on the head there. He's like, I want to be able to make a 20-foot cast.
Right.
So I don't want to look that far ahead,
And he's seeing more detail. I mean, the more you zoom in, especially with mega frequencies, the closer you zoom in, the more you're going to see. So if you're fishing real close quarters stuff, flipping and pitching, that's a situation you'll probably end up tuning that in a little bit and zooming in.
Sure. And it's also helped me in fish identification. You can see it, when you're standing and, you're far away from the screen, everything's just a little bit bigger. And, BTC, that'd be great for you. You might be able to find that cursor.
Yeah.
I've got it figured. I'm keeping it right there in the top right corner. It's just sitting there flashing. I don't know what goes on with these computers. I got a good one. Bo Judd on YouTube asked this question about 20 minutes ago or something. Is there a way to get your waypoints to show up on your 360 screen?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I don't use my Humminbirds much for waypoints, but man, that's actually a good point. I probably should start mixing that in just a little bit. If it's a specific piece of cover. But yeah, you can, when you put it down there. When you mark a waypoint on a Humminbird, when you get within that range, you'll see it.
Now that's only on Solix units, right?
No, you just have to have a heading sensor. So they've got their GPS heading antenna. So it's pretty much an accessory. I think they're $199.
Done.
And you need that on the front of the boat. So it's an external GPS, but it also has heading. So it knows where the boat's pointed, obviously. And then with that sensor attached to the unit, then your waypoints will overlay wherever they are on that 360. So you do have to have that heading sensor.
You're so good.
For living, baby.
It's fantastic. I gotta say, because I didn't know that it's just plug and play on the Solix units. It just I didn't have to set anything, and there they are. And I'm like, I'm coming up on my, I got the mapping, and there it is. The first time I saw it, I'm like, man, this is amazing. There's the waypoint sitting right on top of the rock or the stump or whatever it is I'm trying to target. And it's really allowed me to do some different things. And one of the things that I've tried to do over the years, and it's waypoint management is very complicated. Before now, it's getting easier, but I want a boat position versus a habitat marking, when it comes to waypoints. And I haven't explored that very much, but it's so easy now where you can, you've got your 360 out there showing you that the rock pile is, off the northwest corner of the boat, 30 feet, when you're trying to hit that target, you got to have that boat positioning waypoint, and you can just spot lock right on it and just consistently hit that target. I mean, just so efficient. Like it takes 30 minutes that it used to take you to do this kind of stuff, and just evaporates into 30 seconds that you can accomplish the same thing.
That's the thing about today's technology with forward-facing sonar and 360. I mean, you never have a wasted cast anymore. That's why I never fish brush piles offshore. It would take me 5 casts before I finally found a brush pile.
Oh,
now it's first
5 casts. Yeah,
first cast, and I watch the bait go down, and I see the fish react to it. It's crazy.
Miles, how much detail do you put into your waypoint labeling? Like, I'm on the side of like. I write everything on that waypoint. I write, date. I write size. Sometimes I write the bait that I caught it on. I put the waypoint label according to what
Salt,
kind of
pepper, oregano.
Yeah, pretty much. But Miles, how much detail do you
breakfast?
put into your waypoints, and like, do you have any tips on management? Because like you fish a body of water for long enough, you got like 800 waypoints on one lake.
Yeah.
Like. And that can become a jumbled mess.
Yeah, I have not perfected my system yet, but I'm working on it. What I like, I'm not as detailed. Like I don't write anything in there. In in most situations I have labeled something like grass, grassy point or something like that. But I don't generally do that much. What I use is on the Lowrances, they've got a wide range of symbols that you can use, just like on the Humminbirds. But I'll use, and then each symbol has a bunch of different colors that you can choose. So I usually use, like, if I'm marking an area that I caught a fish, like if I'm up at St. Clair, I'm going to use it again. You're looking for a different size class of fish. So what I'll do is I'll put blue, circles everywhere where I'm catching under 3 pound fish. And then as soon as I get to 3 pounds, I'll end up changing the color. It'll still be the same icon, but I'll change the color to something. And then if you see a red icon on my graph, it's usually because I caught, a quality fish for that body of water. So I usually utilize the color schemes a lot. And then I'll also use, like if I'm practicing on a lake that I haven't been to before, and there's areas that I'm just like, you got to check, I'll put like a stop sign or something like that. So I just kind of use and like recently, we're going to Eufaula. When I go to Eufaula, all my brush piles are going to be those little tree icons, and I change the color to like brown to denote it as a brush pile as opposed to a green standing timber tree. So whatever system works for you, I just try to use the icons that kind of I can relate to what I'm looking at. But man, I'm telling you, if you looked at my waypoint management from year to year and from lake to lake, it changes so much that I don't even know what they mean when I go back. That's why I'm trying to perfect it and get better at it.
Do you clear them off and save them, Miles, or do you do anything like that? Do you just transfer everything back over year to year?
If it's a lake that most lakes that we go to, a lot of the waypoints that I find really aren't going to do me any good. Like Okeechobee, I'm not going to save any waypoints. What good is that going to do? Unless it's like in the rim ditch where you find a rock pile or something like that. Everything changes so much. But on lakes, like very rocky lakes, like if you go to Dale Hollow or something like that, perennial areas that are going to keep producing from year to year, I'll save waypoints for them, for Chickamauga, for specific like ledge areas. I'll save them, but I'm not much of a waypoint saver. Like there's a lot of guys that do that, and they save a lot, and they have specific cards for specific regions and lakes, which I'm doing more and more, but I don't do a ton of it. I'm usually fishing a totally different place than I did the year before, and I almost want like a level of being naive when I go to a lake. I kind of don't want to recall how I caught them before. I kind of want to just start off fresh. So unless it's something that's really, really specific and really juicy from year to year, I'm probably not going to save the waypoints, which is a little bit different than a lot of guys, but it seems to work with me because I sometimes I want to just show up with a fresh mindset.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, I dig it.
I've heard it before. Was it Jason Christie that came on and said that every year he erases every waypoint? I think it might have been him. It was very just erases everything for this exact reason you're talking about, Miles. He wants to tackle that body of water for the first time,
really,
new. And I'm with you, Riz. There is no way. I got rock piles up on Champlain. I got a filing cabinet back here where I've handwritten latitude and longitudes in case something crashes and I lose it.
Right. I've heard talk about that though.
In that situation,
start fresh and new waypoints. And
Ike's got a card for every lake. He's got a SIM card for every single lake.
So it's a lie.
For situations where you got something that's a piece of structure that's going to be there from year to year, like. Dude, finding a boulder on Champlain, is pure gold, for smallmouth there. And it's saving that. It really depends on the place, but usually most of the lakes that I go to, I don't have waypoints from year to year.
Gotcha. It's
in fact, Chickamauga, we were just talking about it earlier. He has my waypoints from like 600 waypoints from Chick, which is the most I've probably ever had on one body of water. And I don't have them on my graph right now, but he's got them. And
I'm his
I'm like,
waypoint
I don't
management
even,
system.
yeah, I don't even think I need them because it's, changes so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Rich, let me send it back to you.
Yeah, we got a question from Jeremiah Eads. What's up, Jeremiah? And Jeremiah wants to know, what are some tips that you can give him on finding high percentage areas on the maps? Like with all the mapping information that's available right now, there's so much out there. How do you find those high percentage areas when you're studying a map or looking at it on your graph?
That's a really difficult question to kind of give a blanket answer on. But like when I'm looking at my Navionics maps, really what the first thing I do is I'm thinking about the seasonal patterns. Like now in the spring, fish are starting to gravitate towards, the backs of creeks, the pockets, and those areas they're going to eventually spawn. And what I do every single time I go to a new body of water is I look for those areas. I start in those areas where, it's shallower water in the spring and where they're likely to spawn. And then I work back and look for any irregularities. Say there's one secondary point in a pocket where the channel swings in right close to it. That is a high percentage area. That is an area that's very, very different. Or you might have like maybe a steeper bank where there's the last dock in a pocket. That's going to be a high percentage area. So you've got to start with those seasonal patterns and then work your way out and look for the irregularities.
Excellent. Great. It's very difficult. Thanks, Jeremiah Eads. Appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It's a little bit of an inside joke amongst this BTC. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. Thanks for watching.
He went in on it.
It's another name that we butchered, Jason. Sorry.
Yeah. Hey, Bo Judd, right? Bo Judd.
That my whole life.
Hit up Alex on YouTube. Alex, you know who this is?
Yeah, he actually called me earlier because he was trying to explain his first question. So yes, I'm familiar.
I just thought his question was
I can't wait.
So hit up Alex and Rich will invent a prize for you.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Bo.
All right. Rich, you got another question for me? Or Alex has some questions for me.
Yeah, I do. Actually, Miles, Drew Gregory's over on the YouTube, and he wants to know, everyone's out there offshore with their electronics and everything in the summer. He wants to know, how much do you think that's going to open up opportunities for bank and kayak anglers to really have the heyday this year?
Big shout out to Drew. He's awesome, man. One of the best kayak fishermen out there, and a buddy of mine on the Z-Man team. I think that this whole dynamic with the electronics getting so much more advanced, I think that's the great thing about fishing is like everybody says, well, this is gonna make it so easy. It's going to be easy, just like the Alabama rig was easy for a certain period of time out in those offshore areas, relatively easy, but it's going to change. Those fish are going to adapt. That's what living things do, is they adapt to the changes in their environment. So I think that there's going to be a huge shift to people that do really well shallow, or maybe not a huge shift, but those guys that are shallow fishermen right now, like John Cox or Bill Lowen, any of those guys that really focus shallow, I think that they're going to have kind of a monopoly in a lot of these areas. And I think that it's something that all of us have to kind of evaluate every single time we go to the lake. But I think it's definitely going to change. I mean, those fish don't want to just get beat up on constantly, so they're going to go somewhere, and we're going to have to keep up with that. Electronics are not the end all be all.
Great question. And Greg Hackney, in one of our classes like 3 years ago, said that there was no better time to be a shallow water angler than right now. And this was 3 years ago. He was, we were all with the 360 and the side imaging, and everybody was getting offshore, and he was already feeling less pressure up on the bank. And
I'd say both of them are the best times. Fishing offshore is the best because we got the best electronics, and fishing shallow is probably the best time because
nobody's there.
You don't have any other pressure in a lot. But I still see a lot of people reverting to shallow just because we're seeing so much more pressure. So you actually may see it. You're going to definitely see like a weird shift where, more people start fishing shallow because they think that that's, the less pressured fish.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting because, a lot of guys are, doing it. They're watching their sonar screens the whole time and they're leaving those fish unmolested on the bank. So it's interesting to see. And of course, Hackney just had a, really great tournament up on the bank at the St. John's. Thought he was going to win it for sure. And he didn't. But when we saw John Cox, it was awesome to have him on the show. He was like, he never thought he was going to win. He's like, I'm never going to win another tournament now that everybody's using forward-facing sonar. And he goes,
he throws a black and blue jig up shallow in every manner possible: a swim jig, flipping and pitching, skipping under docks. You can still. That's the one thing that I disagree with the whole electronics argument, taking the art of fishing away. It's just adding a new layer to the complexity of the things that you have to adjust to on the water. It's just going to make it harder in some ways.
Absolutely. It's interesting though. It's a great time to be a bass angler. I mean, man, we have so much technology available to us, and it's allowing the simplicity of fishing to come back into the picture pretty strong. It's going to be interesting from time to time, and we all thought that it's all all right when the fish are offshore and they're doing this and that, that's when it's going to win. But then Brian Schmidt wins fishing grass, down on Toho, picking those live images out of the grass and winning the tournament that way. So I don't know what's going to happen. Jason, when are we going to have the crappie rigging where the sonar is like 5 feet up off the bow and we can just look down at it like we're looking at a
got it right here.
Yeah, I've got tons of mounts for you. I got a fold down mount. I mean, you can do whatever you want. So yeah.
Look at this thing.
You can raise that high, you can raise it low.
BTC, you will be able to see your cursor.
That's right.
Can we customize one of those through a granite countertop?
Get your glasses and raise it
Pete,
up.
I'm telling you, it's not me. That
It's
thing,
not.
it's just, Pete.
I vouch for that. It's not Brian. The mouse is disappearing.
Yes.
But
somebody's in here doing dirty things on this computer. I don't know what the problem is, but it's acting like a fool. So we use it once a week.
Even still, I see that mount on the Ike Live boat coming soon.
Yeah, that I could use.
Talk about leverage.
I can't see nothing.
Man, that'd be
happens quick.
Hey guys, well, we're gonna let you guys go. We got to wrap up some business and prizes we're gonna give away. But man, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight and
so much
dropping all this great sonar knowledge on us. I appreciate it.
No, thank you guys. Yes. This was awesome. We had a great time. This is awesome. If you want us on again, I'm more than happy to come back on.
There you go.
The opportunity.
Book it, BTC. we're gonna do it. Jason, one more time. What's the website and how can people connect with you and get all this great sonar installed?
Yeah, bassboatelectronics.com. I mean, for our local area, we offer installs as well. This is the busiest time for us, but we've got an install queue online. So if you do want us to install anything, you simply submit your info and then I'll hold your spot in line. Pretty much just do it first come, first serve. And of course, all our products are live online. So if it says we've got it, you better buy it. If it says we're sold out, you're going to have to wait. bassboatelectronics.com.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
I got to give him a big shout out, dude. He's amazing, man. This has been one of the best partnerships just because he knows what he's doing. I mean, better than just about anybody I've ever met. And he just does it right. And he does really good business. He treats people right. So I need to give him a big shout out. So I was glad to be able to include him in this. But as far as me and where you guys can find me, of course, I'm fishing the MLF Pro Circuit. I get to fish the BPT event at Travis too. That'll be kind of fun. And you can find me. I'm doing a lot more videos on YouTube, so I really like to see you guys on YouTube, and I really want to get some feedback on some of the videos you guys want to watch. So find me at YouTube, Sonar Fishing, and Sonar Fishing on Instagram, and Miles Sonar Burghoff on Facebook.
I see, Miles, us coming Bass University trip to Alaska coming soon.
Yeah, I will put you on some halibut.
Yes.
Don't ask me to troll. I don't like trolling for salmon as much as I like fishing for halibut. Let's get out there.
What do you have those 1 pound like hair jigs? What are you throwing for halibut out there?
You can do hair jigs, yeah. Usually just big globs of stinky, herring oil on salmon guts, salmon gills and squid. And we drop a big weight down there, and
Miles, when are you there?
This year I'm going to be up there the pretty much all of September. So the whole month of September. I think I get there the last week of August, and I'll be there through September. This will be my 16th year.
All right.
The night I graduated high school, I went up there. It's been a pretty spectacular place to be.
Where are you going in Alaska?
It's a lodge called Burghoff Wilderness Lodge, and it's on Burghoff Island, which is in our lodge is across the island from Sitka, so it's in southeast Alaska.
Southeast, okay. Yeah, I was flew into. We were in Homer.
Yeah.
Is that close
they
to
call
Homer?
that the. No, Homer's north of there, but they call Homer and I've never been there. They call it the halibut capital of the world. I think they call it, or something like that. But I put our halibut fishing up against any.
Let's go. Yeah. So me, Mike, and the rest of our crew, we got about 5 of us that still hang out. We all turned that big 5-0 this year, and we're talking about a trip. And Alaska's the top of the list right now.
If you guys want to go to Alaska, please let me know, because we can get you up there.
Yeah, me and Mike went about 15 years ago, and it was amazing. Need to do it again. So
yeah,
it could happen.
That'd be awesome.
Pete, you missed it.
Perfect.
You were born.
I know. I missed it. Well, I was born. What were they saying on that post, Riz, that the picture that I looked like the same time that Washington crossed the Delaware?
Yeah, when was this picture taken? It turns out it was, what was that? That was 99, Pete?
99.
It was 99, but the first 2 answers were 1943 and 1827. But honestly, if you were born in 1827, Pete, you look phenomenal.
You look phenomenal.
Or no, if you were fishing tournaments in 1827.
Love that. I'd love to get up to Alaska. Keep me on that text chain, BTC. I'm coming with you.
All right, we'll do.
Maybe in the next couple thousand years.
I'm a vampire. I'm just like smallmouth crush.
Yeah,
I guess
you and Travis.
we're the same that way. Me and Travis.
That's right.
He can stay up all night. I can't, but we're gonna live forever. Hey guys,
or at least a couple more years.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we'll be watching. We're gonna have you back on the show. I know guys are gonna demand more Sonar answers. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Good luck, Miles. Jason, you don't need any more luck. You're swamped with business. I hope it continues, and wish you guys both the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming
really
on, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Wide world of Sonar electronics.
Oh my gosh. There's so much. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do. But we're all learning it. We're learning it together, and that's pretty awesome. I'm glad those guys were able to take some time and hang out with us and answer a bunch of our questions. I know we got a lot more that we're gonna be, that we're gonna have as we continue on.
Yes,
and we got a Facebook like, we got a trivia question.
Yep.
What's our trivia question tonight?
All right, so tonight we got going out the door. We got 2 Gills Gear hats. We got a Bass University official hat, a Flambeau box, couple Rapala DT baits, and some missile baits, as well as $30 worth of Z-Man products coming from Mr. Miles Sonar Burghoff. And the question for tonight is, what setting does Miles keep his 2D sonar set at when graphing with 2D? We need to know the kilohertz on his 2D sonar. What kilohertz setting does he use on 2D sonar?
Oh, my goodness.
Alex,
can you remember?
Give us a...
Yes.
I know the answer, but
Go ahead.
I can't say it. It's going to be race to the fastest internet again, I think. They're already starting to flow in.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
And I already see it.
Is that right?
Already?
Yep.
Man, that's
I mean,
faster
these guys are just...
That's faster than a Ken Duke trivia question.
It really is. I mean, our guys pay attention, Pete. They sharpen their pencils before every show. They get dialed in. It does not take them very long, for sure.
All right. What's the winner? What's the answer? What's the winner?
Well, the first one that I see coming through is 83, and that is SEC Bassin. SEC Bassin, I don't know if that stands for Southeastern Conference Bassin or not, but congratulations, buddy. The correct answer was 83 kilohertz on his 2D sonar. You just won yourself an awesome Bash University prize pack.
Awesome, because it has such a wide cone.
Yes.
That it covers a lot of territory.
Maintain low cone.
Low cone.
That's right. Alex, what's that from?
I'll Google it and get back to you.
Best answer tonight, Alex. Well done. What is that from, BTC?
Coneheads.
Coneheads, bro. Come on.
Low cone.
You grew up with the Coneheads, Pete.
I know.
They were your Smurfs.
I know the Coneheads. The Smurfs were my Smurfs.
Alex, what was the highlights of the best of Smallmouth Crush last night?
So Travis appears. Last time I looked at YouTube, it wasn't up there, but we started off similar to how Bass you did. You know, we have some professionals from the electronics industry come on. Roy from Wacky Riggers. Brian, you need to talk to Roy. He had the best webcam I have ever. Like, it looked like I was watching a movie just watching this guy talk. I don't know what he had, how expensive. Yeah, we got to get into that. I asked him like 3 times. You wouldn't give it up. Anyways, that's beside the point.
But you know what? With this Roy, what's his name? Roy wouldn't give it up, acting like a webcam, so some kind of insider information. You know what, Roy? Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyways, so we started off with that. Austin Neary from Dreamcatchers came on. Travis going on a trip with him in a little bit, and then next thing I know, Eric and Travis are yelling at each other, and then an hour goes by talking about sleep apnea. So I describe it, learned a lot, wasted a couple hours, but had a good time all in all.
So how heated did it get?
Travis's wife came out in the garage and yelled at him for waking up the kids.
It's not ideal.
Some couples like to sit down and hash out their discussions in a peaceful manner, and Eric and Travis like to yell at each other on a live stream for an hour, and it worked on good terms. So
see that, Pete?
Can't knock it.
We're okay. We're okay, buddy.
We don't have those kind of debates here.
We don't.
We used to have them on
We yell at
iCloud all the
computers.
time.
Yeah.
we try to find cursors.
Me and Dave had one disagreement, and I haven't heard from him in a month. But yeah.
man.
So what's the guy's name again? With the secret.
I'll find it real quick.
The
It's
Wacky
Roy from. I can't tell you his last name. I know his first name's Roy from Wacky Riggers. They're out of South or North Carolina, I want to say.
One of those Carolinas.
Yep. Secret Camera Roy.
Roy
I'll give him
Barrow.
another chance.
We need some cameras. We need to step up our audio and video at Bash U.
Yep. We'll see. Let's see if Roy wants to play nice.
I didn't press him too hard, Brian. You might be able to get out of him.
I'm just talking trash, Pete. Tired.
All right.
It's all good.
Are you going to go on that smallmouth trip? And is that going to happen, BTC?
Yeah, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen for sure.
We want that. We want the AquaView.
I'm going
to
go
want
up
you
there,
to find
I'm
your
gonna find
phone.
my phone with the AquaView.
I want that.
Awesome.
We're going to retrieve it.
How deep was the water you were fishing?
18 feet. We're going to look at it.
Okay.
We ain't retrieving it. We're going to look at it. Hey, there you are.
You think it's still there even in all that current?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, it's got to find the bottom, right? It probably drifted as it fell with the current, but
yeah, no, it definitely did. There's video footage of it. Like a flutter spoon. Yep. There goes all my everything. Yep.
Man.
10,000 pictures.
That would be amazing if you were able to find. Is that a waterproof phone?
For a month, I think.
I don't know.
They're rated waterproof for a month?
Something like
That's
that.
insane.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, allegedly. I don't know. We'll ask what's his name from the Wacky Riggers.
All right. Well, I want the video. I want to see it. What do we got going next week, BTC? We're gonna have the winner, hopefully, of the latest Bassmaster tournament
And
that
there's
takes place
also
this week.
a heavy hitters event going on down in the Carolinas where our boy Ike is right now.
Yes.
They're fishing Jordan Falls and Sharon Harris.
How about that?
Yep.
Well, good luck,
3
Mike.
lakes for the price of 1.
Yep. We got
All
that.
right,
And we
man.
got Sabine going on. So
The Sabine starts tomorrow.
I'm intrigued by the Sabine.
Have you guys heard from GDP? Anybody in contact with him?
no, but I got a funny story. So me and Mike last Thursday went out and threw some big baits around on a local pond that's trout stocked, and Mike ended up catching a giant, of course. But the story, and that YouTube video will go up soon, I think. But as we're getting off the water, a guy, and I didn't hear it at first. I had to ask him afterwards. Somebody, said, hey, are you so and so? And Mike's like, no, I'm not him. I'm somebody else or something. And we get back in the truck. I'm like, yo, who do you think you were? Because I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, let it be Adrian Avina. You know what I mean? Please let somebody mistake them for Adrian. but no, they thought he was Greg De Palma. So, yeah. I mean, we're in a boat that says Ike Live on it, but right there.
Was Mike upset that he was mistaken?
No, he's not going to show it.
But, no, I don't care. No, I don't care. No.
Yeah, I'm sure he's furious inside.
He's giving Becky the tail. I got mistaken for GDP today.
How do we let this happen? Damn it, Becky. How do we let this happen?
Right?
I need
Good thing
more
the marketing
exposure.
call got postponed to Tuesday, and he's at heavy hitters. It would have been hell.
Back to the drawing board. Start from scratch.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Blow it up.
I need more social posts. I need more YouTube videos. Starts now.
Next thing you know, both entities are posting 16 times a day. Non-stop live.
Non-stop. Makeovers. The whole deal.
Now Mike's never going to talk to us again.
Yeah, well.
See? Come on.
It'll
All right, are we done? Did we do a Facebook like and share, Riz? I think
Still
we got to
do
give
that.
another prize.
Yep,
What?
we still got to do that. And tonight's Facebook like and share is a Bass University official hat and a $30 prize pack from Z-Man Baits, getting hooked up by our guy Miles Burghoff. We appreciate him coming on the show and also providing us with some Z-Man product to give away.
Yes,
and
we
tonight's Facebook like and share winner comes from Duncan, Oklahoma. Congratulations, Rodney Martin. You won yourself tonight's Bass University Live Facebook like and share.
Rodney.
Yes, sir.
All right. Congratulations, Rodney. And welcome all the new subscribers to Bass University TV. We've had several during the show. Appreciate you guys. And we've got a lot more coming. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot. BTC. May 24th and 25th. We've been getting so many requests and about our next class, and it's happening on May 24th and May 25th. And our headliner was discussed tonight. Can you guys guess who our primary speaker is going to be at our Bass University class, May 24th, May 25th?
Where is the class located?
It's going to be somewhere down south.
Greg Hackney.
Jason
Who said Greg Hackney? Alex.
That would be me.
Do you have inside intel?
You must.
You got.
Yeah, we announced
It was either
week.
we've talked about it before.
Yeah, that was announced last week.
It was announced last week?
Yeah.
My bad. I thought that must have been during the technical difficulties. I missed that part of the show.
Hey,
well,
on a
he's going to be
note, keep Jimmy Houston and his wife in your prayers. I saw this message come through a couple times here. I think I won't get into it. I hadn't had a chance to read it or listen to it, but it sounds like that his wife's having some health problems right now. So something significant.
Wow. Chris Houston.
Yep.
We love Jimmy and his dog.
Thoughts? Yep.
Yeah, and his dog. That's right. I think she was on the cover of Bassmaster, right? Wasn't that a Ken Duke trivia?
I don't know.
It was.
I don't
I
recall.
believe so.
Yep.
Wow. Well, thoughts and prayers out to the Houston family.
Yeah, man.
I know he's got a tremendous amount of fans, and they're all praying and thinking of her. It's first I'm hearing of it. I'm sad to hear it, but we're all wishing them well.
Absolutely.
For sure.
All right, man.
Well, and we're going to be back next Tuesday. I mean, I thought I had big news, but Justin Kimmel, bursted my bubble.
He bunny hopped you.
Yeah, he sure did. But we 24th and 25th of May, look for that. We're going to be putting that up on our website soon, so you guys can come and participate with us for that. We'll be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. with some great Bass University stuff. Thank you, Jason Cassell or Castle.
That's right. Castle.
And Miles Sonar Burghoff for hanging out with us and teaching us all about Sonar. Thank you, Alex, for visiting with us, hanging out with us tonight. Nobody fought, but we still had fun. PTC, Riz, thank you guys. We'll catch up with you, everybody, next week, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. I'm Pete Gluzak for Bass University Live. Good night, everybody.
Cameras available. The AquaView Micro Revolution and Micro Revolution Pro set the new standard in mobile underwater viewing. The thinnest, brightest, most colorful screen, progressive on-screen data and recording technology, and a true revolution in underwater viewing efficiency. The #1 name in underwater cameras, AquaView helps you discover what's really swimming beneath the surface.